College football fans, black and gold fans alike, welcome back to the Touchdown Black and Gold vlog, where we examine, discuss, honor, and celebrate all things college football across the entire college football landscape, but with a very special emphasis on our beloved black and gold squad of the Iowa Hawkeyes. But if you've been searching for a channel that encompasses all things college football across the entire landscape, then welcome home. The Touchdown Black and Gold vlog is for you, a safe haven, a meetup spot for all fans of college football to express their opinions and to celebrate the greatest sport we have on this nation. Welcome back, guys. I'm your usual host, Blair Parks, and as promised, as you can tell by the palm tree and the Gulf of Mexico behind me, that I promised you Monday I would be on location from a very exotic location. And here I am down in Miramar Beach in Destin, Florida. And if you haven't been here recently, then Florida is very exotic, especially to a land lover like myself. But today is my Week 8 Picks episode. I'm going to have a very, very condensed episode today because my wife is getting ready to end the first day of her work conference. That's why I am here, on site. She was, I asked her if I could tag along and, do my thing. And it's been excellent. We've had a great time. She'll be home very soon. And then, quite frankly, I just want to enjoy my time with her, enjoy the beach more, and the cocktails with the little umbrellas in them. They're mighty, mighty tasty. But yeah, here I am, deep behind enemy lines, SEC country, but I've met some great people here in Florida, a lot of Alabama fans. I've had a great time with some conversation. So what's on tap for today? I'm not going to have my Super Dogs segment. I'm going to give you my pre-Week 8 Heisman Trophy candidate update and standings list. And then I will go into my Week 8 picks, the segment that all of you are tuning in for. But before I say anything more, I just want to say thank you for your continued support, your time, your attention, because without you, the college football fan and the black and gold family, none of this is possible. I do this. It is an absolute pleasure for me to do this each and every week, to share my love for everything college football with you. So please, let's continue to find more college football fans just like you. Spread the word, tell your friends, family members, coworkers, and fellow college football fanatics alike to check me out here on the Touchdown Black and Gold vlog. So please subscribe, click that button for notifications, and I always encourage, ask for, and welcome your participation. I want to hear from you, so please let your voice be heard. Feel free to comment, and I promise I will get back to you sooner than later. So without further ado, guys, let's go ahead and get into it. So my first segment for today is my pre-Week 8 Heisman Trophy candidate update list. So this is what we got. There's been a lot of movement especially the last 2 weeks, because we have had a little bit more separation happen in the college football landscape. But these are the four individuals that if I were going to be voting for the Heisman Trophy finalists, these are the four that I would go ahead and vote for as of today, and then I would be seeing them in NYC for a chance to hoist the most gifted, special, and historic award in college football. So the short list for today in alphabetical order, we have LSU quarterback Jayden Daniels has absolutely rejoined the short list. He has cemented his name, and I think he will have some staying power. Next, we have Ohio State wide receiver Marvin Harrison Jr. I get it. His numbers, at least compared to last year and what they were projected to be this season, haven't quite, matched up to where we thought he would be. But this Ohio State offense is absolutely starting to click. He is the leader of that team, their best offensive weapon, especially since they can't run the ball there in Columbus. But he's going to have a chance to make even more of a Heisman Trophy statement this upcoming weekend with that big matchup when Penn State comes to the shoe. Can't wait to talk about that game here in a little bit. My third candidate, a guy that he is making his initial appearance on my short list, but I can't deny him anymore. I'm talking about UNC North Carolina quarterback Drake May. North Carolina, very quietly, sits there undefeated, probably going to be the best test for Florida State. Perhaps it might be Duke, and that's another game coming up this weekend. Duke travels to nearby Tallahassee to take on the Seminoles. More on that game here shortly. But the guy is putting up awesome numbers. He cannot be denied, and until they lose, he is going to stay here on the short list. And my final Heisman Trophy shortlist candidate, he right now is my Heisman Trophy frontrunner, and I think he is for primarily everybody who follows this sport. But I'm talking about Washington quarterback Michael Penix Jr. Hands down, right now, if the Heisman was going to be given out today, it would be in his hands. Because after what happened last week, when Washington defeated Oregon, coupled with USC getting absolutely spanked by Notre Dame, I think I saw the Heisman Trophy go basically fly up into the air from South Bend and then land in Seattle. So that is my Heisman Trophy short list. Now I'm also going to give you 4 other individuals, kind of the next 4 out. These are also going to be your Heisman Trophy, kind of the best of the rest. And these are cats that will stick around, but they'll have every opportunity to replace somebody on my aforementioned short list. Now, the first is Florida State quarterback Jordan Travis. FSU continues to be undefeated. They are rolling everybody, kind of survived their early season scare at Boston College. I believe that was in week 3, maybe 4, up in Chestnut Hill. But they do have, like I said, a good matchup this weekend when they host Duke. Next, a fellow teammate of Jordan Travis. I'm talking about Florida State wide receiver Keon Coleman. And quite frankly, people, there was so many primetime, big-name transfers in the offseason, but I think to me that nobody has had an impact more on their team than wide receiver Keon Coleman. I mean, the guy is a human highlight film, and I've only put Marvin Harrison Jr. ahead of him because of Notre Dame's big win at South Bend. I think is what separates those two, because I'm only not going to vote for the best stats, okay? Because sometimes stats lie. If you don't play great competition, such and such, I also look at who did they play, who did they lose to, and how did they perform. So that's why right now I have Marvin Harrison Jr. just a little bit ahead of Keon Coleman. But like I said, this guy is an absolute game changer and a playmaker. And think right now how much Michigan State would love to have him back with all of their struggles up there in East Lansing. Whew. I don't think it's going to get much better there for old Sparty either. Next, and another guy that very quietly just continues to perform. I mean, not flashy, kind of boring, but the team has looked the most dominant of anybody in the nation to this point. I'm talking about Michigan quarterback J.J. McCarthy. All the guy does is win. I mean, he led them to the college football playoff last year. They had one loss. They actually might have been undefeated going into that, I forget. But here they are. All he does is win. That's all these guys do, is win football games under McCarthy's watch at quarterback. So if they keep doing what they're doing, he'll definitely be there on that short list at some point. But still, we're all waiting for the big matchups to kind of that round robin of that three-headed monster in the Big Ten East. Michigan has yet to play either Penn State or Ohio State. And last, I'm sorry, Call me a Homer Simpson. If you do that, fine, that's your prerogative. But for those of you who watched me, who are fellow subscribers, if you're a usual suspect here watching the channel, you know I am very objective. Okay, I am not a little Homer Simpson. Yes, I love my Hawkeyes. And don't you guys love this tropical Hawkeye shirt, by the way? I think I wear it very well. Otherwise, but I'm not Mr. Homer, but because first and foremost, I'm a college football fan, just like you, all right? And I've got to give some love to my guy. I mean, I'm talking about the Iowa punter, the MVP of the current 6-1 Hawkeyes, who have the worst offense in all the nation. The guy's the MVP. I'm talking about the punter from down under, punter Tory Taylor. I mean, and here's why. Obviously, do I expect him to be on a Heisman Trophy shortlist? No. But the guy should finish in the top 10 of the Heisman Trophy voting. The guy should at least be mentioned as one of the best players in the nation, because to me, that's exactly what the Heisman signifies. The best player at a certain position, who's consistent, and who puts his team in the best chance to win, or even will help their teams win those games. And he is obviously the key to Iowa's success right now, along with that defense and the rest of the special teams unit for Iowa. So Tory Taylor, get him in the conversation, guys. I'm telling you, he is worthy. Unlike Wayne and Garth on Wayne's World, we're not worthy. We're not worthy. Tory Taylor is worthy of the Heisman Trophy talk. Period. Okay? All right, guys, that's my Heisman Trophy update and standings pre-week 8. Let me know what you think. Please comment. Is there somebody that you believe should be on this list? Maybe the opposite, somebody who shouldn't be on this list. Who did I forget? Please let me know. Please comment, like, share, subscribe. Can't wait to hear from you, and I will get back to you. Now, guys, let's go ahead and move into my Week 8 picks segment. Man, I can't wait. There's so much coming up here on Week 8. Hopefully, I will be able to watch some football, but obviously with what else is here, all of the other things to enjoy, college football might just be on the back burner for Saturday, but I will definitely watch some games, but probably not any games in their entirety because we have a lot of fun things planned. Because my wife has a half day on Saturday for her conference, so that's going to be the big day to get out there and enjoy each other's company. So, if this is your first time watching my picks segment, let me go and break it down here for you. Each and every week, I randomly pick 13 games that I will be choosing from. Now, some of these are the big games on everybody's radar, but then again, some of these games are a little bit more low-key, off-the-radar games that I think eventually will go very far into bowl season, pecking order, rankings, and conference championship matchups. All right? And of those 13, I always pick 4 specialty games. Each and every week, I will pick an academy game of the week, which will feature one of the 3 academies, Army, Air Force, or Navy, as my way to say thank you and salute the men and women of the armed forces of the United States of America. My way to say thank you for your service, both past and present members. I will always then pick a Power 5 matchup game of the week as far as at one of the group of 5 conferences, a big time matchup that you may not be aware of, because it is my responsibility to keep you in the know as a college football fan. Next, each and every week when Iowa plays, I will always make my Iowa pick of the week. And then finally, I always have my spotlight game of the week, and it is a big one, not just in the Big Ten or in the Big Ten East, but this game absolutely has college football playoff ramifications written all over it. All right, so without further ado, let's go ahead and get to it. So my first game up this week, a big tilt in the Big Ten. Rutgers travels to Indiana. Now, some of you might be thinking, Blair, why did you pick this game to break down? Well, let me go ahead and tell you. Let me educate you that Rutgers currently sits 5-2 in arguably the best division in all of college football, which the hell with it. I'll say it right now, it is the best division. Big Ten is not the best conference, that's the Pac-12, but the best division in football, and here they are 5-2. A great story here at the halfway point of the college football season. One more victory, and Rutgers, who used to be the doormat of college football in the entire nation, not just in the Big Ten, is going to find themselves playing a 13th game. It's a great story that a lot of people just aren't aware of. They traveled to an Indiana team that, quite frankly, is really spiraling out of control. I think Indiana's defense actually is pretty good. They're solid, not great. They will keep this game close for maybe a half. But I think right now, Indiana, their team, their fans have really just kind of packed it up. Head coach Tom Allen is dead man walking, and they're just waiting for basketball season there in Bloomington. So I'm taking Rutgers in this matchup to get the road victory and get that coveted 6th win. Go Scarlet Knights. Next game is all of a sudden kind of a big tilt in the Big 12. And one team is really coming in red hot. The other is kind of coming off of a heartbreaking loss. I'm talking about the Oklahoma State Cowboys travel to West Virginia to take on the Mountaineers. Oklahoma State, guys, at one point lost 3 games in a row. I believe it was Arizona State, South Alabama, and then they lost to Iowa State. But since then have really turned it around. I mean, back-to-back weeks, they've defeated both teams from the Sunflower State, both Kansas State and Kansas, who to me and most people would say are legit Big 12 contenders. So they find themselves all of a sudden right in the race for a Big 12 conference championship berth. And they're traveling to West Virginia. Neil Brown has to win this season, or he will be outski as the head football coach at West Virginia. Last week, I mean, what a way to lose. They lost on that 49-yard Hail Mary, which was well received and granted by Houston as time expired, lost by 2 points. I mean, what a heartbreaking, devastating loss for West Virginia. So hopefully they can pick themselves off the mat. Now this game I think is going to be very close. I'm not sold on the Pokes quite yet. Definitely are playing better football, but I also have my doubts about the Mountaineers. I mean, who are they? They were 4-1, I believe, prior to that loss last week against Houston. I just think the home crowd, I think that is going to be the difference in this game. I think West Virginia is going to find a way to get this one done. If not, I think the seat there for Neil Brown is going to get even hotter. But I think the crowd will help them get it done. I think it might be an ugly game, but they will be happy and they will be singing "Take Me Home, Country Roads." Give me the Mountaineers in this matchup. Next, a big tilt here in the SEC, and I say here because of where I am on location down here in Florida. That number 17 Tennessee travels to number 11 Alabama. And I could hear people down there saying "Go Tide," because yes, my voice does carry. But this is a big game for both teams. It really comes down for Tennessee. How can quarterback Joe Milton, how can he perform on the road? I don't quite know if he can get it done in the most hostile of all hostile environments in the nation, going down to Tuscaloosa. Alabama has really kind of righted the ship. We were all very concerned, especially about their quarterback play following that Texas loss. But Jalen Milroe definitely looks like he has found something. Coach Saban, the GOAT, is definitely cooking with gas in the kitchen. I just think Alabama is going to be too much for Tennessee. I think this win will keep Alabama really, really alive in that SEC West conversation. And I think it is going to come down to that game in a few weeks in Tuscaloosa when LSU comes to town. I think that is going to be the game that will ultimately decide the SEC West. So give me the Crimson Tide in this matchup. Next game, a big game all of a sudden in the Big Ten, one of those off the radar games as well. Wisconsin travels to Illinois. Now, why is this kind of a big game? Check it out. Last week, off of that really, really disappointing loss at home against Iowa, Wisconsin goes on the road to take on Illinois, who all of a sudden maybe has a little bit of their mojo back. Because to remind you, if you didn't check out my preseason bowl predictions episode, yours truly picked Illinois to win the Big Ten West Division. They already have 3 losses, which I think that loss at home 2 weeks ago against Nebraska ultimately will be the damning thorn in their side. But last week, Illinois goes on the road and dispatches of Maryland in College Park. So all of a sudden, Illinois is back alive. And I picked Illinois to win this game anyway preseason, but Wisconsin comes in. Starting quarterback Tanner Mordecai is out with a hand injury sustained against Iowa. Their backup quarterback looked very shaky. Stud running back Braylon Allen was absolutely bruised and battered against Iowa. He never really looked right after some big-time hits and collisions. Wisconsin's banged up. I think they understand now that them being the favorite to win the Big Ten West was a little bit premature. And I think Illinois, because of that win last week and the status of Wisconsin mentally and physically, I like the Fighting Illini at home to keep themselves in the race for the Big Ten West. And ultimately, I think one more loss for Wisconsin will eliminate them. They still have Ohio State coming to Madison, and then they travel to Minnesota for the Battle of Paul Bunyan's Axe at the Twin Cities. And Minnesota has really, really had their number as of late. They've won 2 in a row, and I believe 3 out of the last 5 against the Badgers. So I like the Fighting Illini in this matchup. Next, big matchup in the Big 12, especially for the home team. TCU travels to Kansas State. Kansas State was one of those darlings that was supposed to contend for the Big 12 title. They were the Big 12 title game winners last year. They actually defeated this TCU team. So kind of a rematch of the Big 12 title game last season. TCU, will the real TCU please stand up like the real Slim Shady? One game they look terrific and absolutely throttle BYU. Then another game they look the exact opposite, get defeated by Colorado and Iowa State. And the Iowa State defeat was a very sound defeat, okay? So I just like Kansas State at home. I love Coach Klein. I'm sorry, it's not Coach Klein, but Coach Kleinman, but I always love the water boy. How could you not? With good old Coach Klein. I like Coach Kleinman and Kansas State at home. I love their physicality. I love their culture, their identity. Give me the Wildcats there in the little Big Apple. Taking Kansas State in this one. A lot of aircraft fly over the Air Force bases nearby. I saw the Blue Angels and I believe a couple of F-22s earlier this morning when I took a nice long walk on the beach. Absolutely one of the coolest things, especially for a guy with an aviation background like myself. Anyway, next game, big one in the ACC. I already kind of mentioned it earlier this episode. Number 16, Duke travels to number 4, Florida State. It looks like Riley Leonard, the quarterback for Duke, will play. Not 100% healthy with that high ankle sprain, but he is going to strap it on and attempt to play this game. Florida State, I mean, we all know what Doak Walker Stadium is. It is an absolute snake pit, one of the best atmospheres in all of college football. This Duke team is legit, guys. I mean, I know you hear a ranked Duke team, you think, oh, is it basketball season? No, you didn't miss anything. This Duke squad is very sound. They play great complementary football. Their defense is actually very stout. But right now, it's hard for me to pick against the Seminoles. A, because I'm in the Sunshine State, but I just think they're a better team. And I think at home, they are a much more better team as well than on the road. If this game was in Durham, I would expect Duke to give them a really, really close game. I would maybe even pick Duke, but it's a home game for the Seminoles, and Renegade's going to have that crowd fired up. So I'm going to go ahead and take the Seminoles in this matchup to beat Duke convincingly. I think they pull away big time in the fourth quarter, win by 20 points or more. So give me the Seminoles in that matchup. Next game, another big matchup in the ACC. Kind of a game for the winner to still stay alive for that potential berth in the ACC title game. This year they do not have divisions, so that's why it's very important. The top two teams will advance to the ACC title game. I'm talking about Clemson. The Tigers travel to South Beach to take on the Miami Hurricanes. Clemson looks like they have put it together. Miami is coming off of back-to-back losses. The first of those two, that heartbreaking game that never should have happened, that was inexcusable. The denial, or the I'm not going to kneel gate, that loss. But last week, Miami on the road, really up against it. Played very well at North Carolina, and Heisman Trophy candidate Drake May. They left Chapel Hill with a loss, but they did play very well. They had the lead at halftime, if memory serves. They played very inspired, very tough, but came up a little bit short. So whoever loses this game, I think, is out of the ACC race. So who do I like? I love the Clemson defense. I love their offense. The young Cade Klubnik, their quarterback, is coming of age. But I just think when I look into my Mario Cristobal, see what I did there? I look at this Miami team, and I think he will be able to still keep this team highly engaged. I don't think he will let them pack it up. I think they come out inspired and motivated. I just think Miami is going to find a way. And I think a lot of people really believe Clemson is going to win this game. But obviously, I'm not one of them. I'm taking the Hurricanes at home to bounce back and to keep their season alive. So give me the U in that matchup. Next game, big time tilt in the Pac-12, which we did start to see a little bit of separation last week, but this is a big-time separation game. Number 14, Utah, who you all know I love me some Utah football. They travel to number 18, USC. Utah, we don't know who's going to be their starting quarterback. The Cam Rising Gate continues. We don't know if he is going to play this season. Will he return after suffering his knee injury at the end of last season? We don't know, and it's really a shame. This Utah team is one of the best defenses, not just in the Pac-12, but in the nation. But I just don't think they have enough offensive firepower to really knock off the upper echelon in the Pac-12. And we got USC, who got absolutely embarrassed and spanked, woodshedded last week in South Bend. I believe the final score was 48-20 for the Fighting Irish. So it really needs to be a bounce back game for Coach Lincoln Riley and the Trojans, and Caleb Williams, who probably still will be the first overall pick in the draft if he comes out in the spring. So who do I like? Do I like Utah's defense and special teams against USC's offense? USC can't play any defense, guys. It's optional. But Utah, like I said, they struggle offensively. I just like USC to outscore them. I think they'll be able to put up enough points. I don't think it's going to be a 50-burger put on Utah, but I could see USC putting up 28 to 30 points, and I think that will be enough. I like the men of Troy to get it done for the home crowd in the Coliseum. Give me the Trojans on that one. And now another tilt in the Pac-12. Number 25 UCLA travels to Stanford. I mean, what a big time week both of these teams had last week for maybe separate situations. UCLA lost a tough game up in Corvallis against the sleeper in the Pac-12. That's right, the mighty Beavers of Oregon State. People are forgetting about them. They're making it all about Washington and Oregon, but Oregon State is going to be right there to the very end. Trust me. So UCLA comes home, a loss, a very physical, tough game up there in Corvallis, and Stanford. I mean, you talk about the comebacks of all comebacks. Down 29 at halftime last week at Colorado and Coach Prime with all of the celebrities there in the house watching the game. You know, this publicity, this hype for Colorado continues, which it just shouldn't, because they're not good. They're not. Even though it has been a success for Coach Prime, it is, but we're still inflating that balloon way more than we need to. So both of these teams coming off different outcomes last week. Stanford, I think, is not as good as Colorado made them look. I mean, the Colorado defense in the second half made the Stanford wide receivers look like All-Americans, made their quarterback look like a Heisman Trophy candidate. UCLA is not going to do that. One of the best defenses, they're physical along the lines of scrimmage. And Donta Moore, their stud freshman quarterback, if you haven't watched him, you need to. Definitely going to be a future Heisman Trophy candidate himself. I like the Bruins on the road to get it done. Give me UCLA in that matchup. All right, guys, so now we are to my 4 specialty picks for the upcoming Week 8. Please subscribe, like, share, comment. Let me know what you think about my picks so far and my commentary. Do you agree? Disagree? Can't wait to hear from you. So let's get to my first specialty game of the week. This is my Academy game of the week, and it's even more special for a couple of reasons. It's number 22 Air Force travels to Annapolis to take on the Middies, the Navy midshipmen. It's special because Air Force sits there ranked and undefeated, and this is the first game towards the coveted Commander-in-Chief trophy that the academies play for every year. So whoever wins this game is kind of the early leader in the clubhouse to claim and keep that trophy. Air Force won it last year, looking to keep it in-house. Navy, I think, will come out. I mean, the battle of the triple options. I wish I could watch this game. I really could. But Air Force, I mean, nobody does it any better than they do. I mean, they are an absolute rushing juggernaut. They are very artful, and they are a masterpiece to watch. And I would love for this team to go undefeated and grab that New Year's 6 spot for the group of 5, which would be historic for not just for Air Force, but then they would become the first ever academy to get to the New Year's 6 bowl game. So I'm taking Air Force in this. It's hard for me to pick between both of these academies, but give me the Falcons to get it done. But thank you once again both for your service. It is much appreciated by all of us. Next game is my group of 5 specialty game of the week. This is a big game in the MAC conference, the Mid-American. We have Toledo with stud quarterback Daquan Finn travels to Miami of Ohio to the Red Hawks, where Miami of Ohio finds themselves having a Gabbert at quarterback. Not Blaine Gabbert for all of you Missouri fans who he's still in the NFL. But both of these teams, I believe, have only one loss on the season, and I think they're both out of conference. So this is for MAC leadership at the halfway point. I love Daquan Finn. Watched that whole game earlier this season, week 1 against Illinois, when they almost pulled off that upset victory in Champaign. Haven't really watched a lot of Miami of Ohio, but their stats, I mean, both offensively, defensively, and special teams look very sound. I'm going to take the home team in this matchup. Definitely is an upset, but I'm taking the Red Hawks at home to defeat the Rockets. Give me Miami of Ohio. Next is my Iowa pick of the week, and what a huge game. I mean, it's a rivalry game. It involves what I think is the greatest, best rivalry trophy in all of college football, the Floyd of Rosedale. That's right, the Divine Swine. Minnesota travels to number 24 Iowa. What a big game here for both squads. Minnesota, I think, is that first team kind of out for the Big Ten West race. I did think it was going to be Illinois, Iowa, Wisconsin, but Minnesota does still have a chance to keep themselves relevant, but they just have a very difficult schedule. They already played Michigan, They still play Ohio State. And Iowa, guys, I said this during my instant reaction to the Iowa-Wisconsin game last weekend. If you want to know more about that game, check that episode out. I'll say it again, that this game is the most important game for our Iowa Hawkeyes. Here's why. They were a 9.5-point underdog in Madison against Wisconsin. They find a way to win 15-6 with only having 37 yards passing. So it really comes down to, can Iowa refocus, recalculate, and come back down to ground zero? Iowa right now faces a big-time potential letdown spot, not coming out very focused, believing all the hype that people are saying, oh, the West Division is now wrapped up in one. That is completely false. There is still way too much football to be played to see who's going to win the Big Ten West. So this is a big game for Iowa, because if they're able to win this game, they improve to 7-1, and then they have a bye week, and they are so beat up. I mean, we all knew they already lost quarterback Cade McNamara for the season, and stud tight end Luke Lachey for an ankle. And now last week against Wisconsin, their other stud tight end, Eric All, left. He is out for the season also with a torn ACL. So Iowa here is down to their number 3, 4, and 5 tight ends, their number 2 quarterback, their number 2 and 3 running backs. So that's why this will be a very difficult game, especially with Iowa's offensive woes already. And I do think they will lose at least 1, if not 2 more games. But I do not think it'll be this week against Minnesota at home. I expect another ugly game. UGLY, you ain't got no alibi. I think the first team to 22 points wins. I think it's Iowa. They find a way. They'll just run the rock, rely on that special teams and defense to get it done. So give me the Hawkeyes in this year's rivalry matchup with Minnesota. I'm taking the Hawkeyes. All right, guys, my final pick of this episode for my Week 8 picks is my Spotlight Game of the Week, and it is a big one, the first of 3 big games to decide the Big Ten East Division, when these 3 teams currently are undefeated, Michigan, Ohio State, and Penn State. They're going to have that round robin here. This is round 1 of that round robin. Number 7, Penn State, travels to number 3, Ohio State. Man, I really hope I'm able to watch some of this game. I really am, because this is such a tough game to forecast. I haven't checked the weather for in Columbus. I don't know what's going to be going on with the climate, because obviously I'm not worried about the weather myself. I mean, you can see the palm tree here, the Gulf of Mexico in the background, and I'll be heading down back to the beach here real shortly. That you've got probably the most complete team in the country, Penn State, travels to maybe the best offensive team when they're clicking in the nation in Ohio State. Kyle McCord, the quarterback for Ohio State, is improving. He's looking a little bit better, but I still don't know if I fully trust him. I mean, he has a stud, absolute loaded wide receiver core, but they also haven't been able to establish the run there at Ohio State this season. Penn State's defense, we know, is loaded, physical, fast, but it also comes down to their quarterback. Young stud quarterback Drew Aller, this is not his first road test of the season. They did play at Illinois in week 3, and he struggled a little bit, but they did win. So it really comes down to, can Ohio State defensively get to quarterback Drew Aller? And can Ohio State protect Kyle McCord? Can he deliver the ball to that stud wide receiver core? And can they establish a little bit of a run game? This game is so hard for me to pick and predict because of the fundamental differences that both of these teams have when you compare them. Ohio State, I know, is the very, very popular, trendy pick. Penn State, it just comes down to their quarterback. Can you keep him protected? How will he do on the road in this matchup? But this is a tough one, but I'm going to go with my gut on this one. Because I've seen Ohio State not be able to run the ball, I think that'll be needed, especially late in the game if they have a lead to protect it and clock it to run out the tick, 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 tick. I don't think they'll be able to. I think the Penn State offensive line will protect Drew Aller. I think he will deliver the ball timely, accurately, and quickly. I just tend to put more faith in Penn State as a team, so I'm taking the upset. I'm taking the Lions to march into the shoe and come out with the victory. Give me Penn State in this matchup. All right, that's it for this week's episode, guys. Please let me know what you think. Like, share, comment. Can't wait to get back to you. It will be sooner than later, but obviously I've got a few distractions to where it might be a little bit later than usual, but it will be sooner, if that makes sense. But I'm going to wrap it up here. My wife should be home any time now, back to our room to have a little lunch. Enjoy some time with her before she goes back to her conference. But thank you guys for your time, your attention. Please, if you could, give me a quick little prayer for safe travels. Without you, once again, this is not possible. Please subscribe, comment, like, share. Enjoy the rest of your week, your weekends. Enjoy the football. Best of luck to your team of fandom, and I'll see you next week. I will be back for my Week 8 review and recap episode. So until then, guys, enjoy the rest of the week and weekend. Thank you for joining me on this episode of the Touchdown Black and Gold Vlog. See you soon. Bye-bye.